Putting it live. You are now live and recording is running. If you could start the meeting.
Okay, we'll start the meeting then. only when you say, Paul. Meeting is called to order, and so this is a snapshot of what we've thus far added to our list. 28 million, leveraging to about 60 projects, and we've got quite a good chunk of the UOR Tier 1 taken care of at the end of the day yesterday. Thanks for the push. I'm just doing the final counts to make sure I've got all of the ones that we put on the list. 16 of them.
What is UOR specifically Tier 1?
Okay, so there's the UOR 1. So with that, and we do have at 9:15 regional asset tier presentation from Midway City for the Ridgeline Park. So,
they're here.
and they are here.
And Chair, can I ask us to give a quick introduction to Emily, our new staff member?
Oh, yeah. Emily wasn't here yesterday, but yeah, Emily, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Emily Meadows, and I'm excited to be here. I'm going to be helping with the grant program. I studied environmental science in my undergrad and city and regional planning in my master's. So I'm really excited to get to do some planning and grant stuff. Excited to get to work with you all.
Yes, we're excited to have Emily here and get not only some additional capacity for the grant for you, Ogden, but just in case Caroline decided to leave. She's not. She's paying. It's good to have some backup knowledge. There's a lot to this, a lot of work, a lot of details.
Emily, is today day one?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was on a backpacking trip, so I missed.
Emily had to go to have a soup night. Actually called us.
Tough duty. Oh, God.
So I think with that, just a quick little point that I wanted to bring up, something that Aaron and I were talking about yesterday that I think we probably want to address. We can just bring this up quickly and be thinking about it though. We do have our adjusted match ratios, and you know, when Washington County was deemed to be no longer an urban county, or no longer a rural county, they're urban now. That took a few communities, Hilldale specifically is one that Aaron brought up. Doesn't seem like they would. Yeah.
Not in our lifetime.
So anyway, that's, I think, something maybe we just talk about in the future to decide what are some other thresholds or factors that we can use to identify.
And that's a good thought. I mean, we've had, you know, similar communities from Washington County reach out and be like, hey, you know, this doesn't quite work for us. But, you know, along the Wasatch Front, like West Valley City is one, you know,
Right.
where, and so we've talked to like Kempsey Gardner and looked at a few different kind of metrics, but you know, there might be a need for like further granularity. Maybe we just don't have a required match. You know, we have like suggested matches, and you know, there is kind of that allowance of just we look at each project individually. We kind of factor in a lot of that stuff. But that's a great conversation to have. I say if we're going to be talking about smaller communities in Washington County, you know, let's also look at the Wasatch Front and some of the west side.
Yeah, and maybe we have an appeal process or an exception process, so that the default is the match in a community like Hilldale or West Valley. And then make an application for reduced match or no match, or whatever match they can bring to the table could then be still considered and considered on the merits of the project, with the match component being a piece of that. Anyway,
So is that something we can decide, or is that something has to be?
we would like your advice on it.
Okay.
And how we move forward with it.
Just you, Russ.
Now there's pressure.
Sorry, what we want to do is do some rulemaking. Change rule in order to reflect what that process would be. So, but yeah, we would love to hear from you what your thoughts are and what the best approach might be for us to put into rule.
The reason why this came up is because Hilldale is going through the process of applying for an EDA grant in cooperation with the university, and we have to do a white paper helping because there's a designation of being distressed, sort of like being rural versus urban. It's about resources, and so EDA is accepting a white paper from us documenting why Hilldale should count as distressed as opposed to using the county-wide designation. And so, you know, it's just one of those things that has come up recently.
Well, thanks for bringing up. I mean, I think, yeah, any further granularity we can do to, you know, support the needs of our very distinct communities is great. And I think some of the work we're doing with the statewide comprehensive recreation plan, where we are talking a little bit more those granular regions and stuff. So we might be able to translate some of that. I don't want to make any promises that, that'll factor in for sure. So,
Anyway, yeah, if you have thoughts on that, talk to Patrick, talk amongst ourselves, and we'll probably come up with some potential solutions by our next meeting. Okay, with that, it is 9:15. So our first Tier 1 presentation, Nibley City's here to talk about the Ridgeline Park Phase 2. That's right, we'll get your materials all set up. And once you got your stuff ready to go, you can just take it away.
we're all staff on this side. So.
I don't have a clicker, but I am your clicker. So
Okay, you're the
you tell me
click.
where to go.
Just watch for the.
I'll watch for the thumb.
I'll kick us off. My name's Larry Jacobson. I have two jobs in Nibley. One that is arguably the most important is Little League umpire. And when I'm not doing that, and then I'm the mayor. And with us, we also have Justin Maughan, our city manager, and also our city engineer, Tom Dickinson. So I'd like to introduce you a little bit to Nibley City. We are in what you recognize, and we're surrounded by 19 different municipalities in Cache County. Most recognizable probably is Logan. That's the economic center for Cache Valley. The other 18 municipalities are at various levels of trying to become complete communities, where we might get out of bed and instead of getting in our car and driving to Logan, we might actually work in our own community and certainly recreate in our own community. Nibley is a town of 8,000 people. We have an amazingly young population. 44% of Nibley population is below 18 years of age, compared to the Utah demographic of 27%. So, and we can click on to the next slide. Agreements as we I want to look at this. Yeah. This is the project that we're going to hear about. It's amazing how fast things change. This is Nibley City Hall. This is now, and we got this land through residential planned unit development. So this is all now multifamily housing around Nibley City, except we have a soccer field right here. With that emphasis on acquiring land, we've done a good job there, but we struggled to build the, responded to that survey. And activities, especially that would catch teenagers in our community. So that's what we're focusing on with this project. And Tom's going to tell you what the solution is to that problem. But I will say on the youth version of that survey, the most popular thing for teenagers and kids in Nibley to do is ride their bike. So we'll go from there.
I'll keep you forward a couple slides there. I will talk about the park. Just highlighting the regional asset to this community. It's part of our Trails Master Plan. It connects all of north in Logan to Wellsville and Millville and down into Hiram. If you can go to the next slide. How hard are you on 5 to 7 minutes?
Oh dear.
So depends on how many questions you want to have.
Yeah.
So it's about 17 acres and it's multi-phased. We have current funding from the LWCF. We worked diligently trying to get this and it came in high with our bid. So we're working with the contractor to reduce scope on that first phase that you see in the lower section there. This next phase 2 is a bike skills course, like the mayor said. It just ties right into what our community wants and needs. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. A close-up of that looks like this. Phase 2, we're calling it, of Ridgeline Park, has a pump track with wall ride, a bike playground, beginner pump track as well, a whole bunch of little amenities you'll see on the right, a tunnel, rings, ladders, and bridges and things of that sort. If you can go to the next one, please. And then future phases, we add a perimeter skills course. You'll see it in blue on the outside, and a future jump line too. And so this has all been developed through coordination with staff, the community. There was the mayor mentioned the public outreach and things, and also the recreation committee with it's been formed in Nibley City. So if you go one more slide, these are just kind of exhibits of what this looks like. We've hired an expert in this field, American Ramp. They've helped us develop this whole park, tried to suit our budget as well. And Justin will hit that after the next slide. Beginners develop skills, and you can take it as to the highest level. We've hoped to attract even up in the professional level to be able to come and utilize this area. So Justin will talk about the finance a little bit more.
Yeah, so just this slide really just to show the commitment that Nibley City has to our park. We currently have about $2.6 million budgeted. Phase one, we ran into a little bit of bump, as he mentioned, with maybe over planning and requesting, hoping to build a little more than we were able to get with the money. So this one, we kind of really went out. We got the American Ramp Company on board. We have it designed, we have it ready, and we basically I have everything but an official bid from them to start construction. And so we know that the $750,000 that we're asking for, you will be able to cover the space, what we're calling 2 of the park, and be able to complete phase 2. We should be getting going on phase 1 here pretty soon too, with trying to get the scope cut back a little bit. But Nibley City has a commitment to this park. Like I said, we've already have $2.6 million budgeted. We do have some more resources that we could put towards the park. It is our #1 priority right now with our funding and with our planning and our park system. So kind of the next one. Sorry, this is more of the bid from American Ramp to actually come construct, just trying to show that we really have a good handle on what this is going to cost us.
And our 750 will be going towards the phase 2. Is that
Correct. Yep. Phase 2.
You go back to that slide. Sorry.
Yeah.
Down there. Or is that the one you wanted?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so the actual bike park pump of that, or the pump track, is about a little over 700, and then it's the surrounding amenities and the landscaping and kind of a little bit of a meeting area, a staging area, if you will, brings that up to just under $1 million. So one last slide just to kind of tie it all together. We're really excited about this. We believe this will be a great amenity. We have some other similar-ish in the valley, but not this nice and this paved pump track. And so it'll be a unique feature that hopefully will attract from the region. And we know that we will be able to draw and pull from the whole valley for this amenity. We've had some discussions about, the mayor mentioned, we've done a really good job of doing the program sports and things like that. And we're hoping to be able to take some of what we've learned with that, be able to apply to get maybe some camps going here, try to get some kids, ease them into these, this kind of activities to give them confidence and help them become better at it. So we have a strong presence there with the recreation program to try to make some of that, even though this is unprogrammed, but also try to do some programming to help to boost the unprogramming of the use of the facility. We believe it's accessible to all ages. Hopefully, we'll draw a big crowd of from young to old to the teenagers for the master plan. We think this is a good opportunity to combine the Land and Water Conservation Fund money that we already have with the overall park and a good partnership with UORC. And really just appreciate our opportunity to be able to come pitch this to you. We express our appreciation. Also, we've received a few small grants from this organization, an outdoor classroom, and I believe a outdoor cross-country ski track. We're able to buy a little grooming piece of equipment to go around one of our parks. And so we really appreciate our partnership with UORC and hope that we can continue and provide this amenity to the citizens of Nibley and Cat Valley. And with that, any questions from you guys, I'd be happy to answer. Okay, thank you.
I got a question. Is there thought about how the kids will either ride to the park or
use
great
the bus
system? Is there?
Great question. If you go back a few slides, on that master plan map, you can see a lot of these trails that kind of come through here. This park is right here as kind of the city center. So a lot of these trail system master plan is this kind of our future downtown area. So we believe that right now there's a few legs and pieces of that, but we got a lot of work to do to make it the bigger regional thing like we discussed, but it will tie all the way into Millville. It'll tie all the way into Logan when these regional trails get put together. But other than that, existing, the sidewalk system in Italy is pretty good. We do have a few trail segments in place, and this could be an amenity that kids could ride on a bike to, for sure.
So another plan that we're serious on right now, Kevin, is this is our Pinevew's first ever standalone active transportation plan that we're working on. We've always put active transportation in with Parks and Rec, but we realize the importance of that and realize the importance of working into the master plan in Cache County. So we're on our first ever standalone active transportation plan for Pineview City.
Can I speak a little bit more to that as
Yeah.
well? Cache County has an initiative, you may be aware of, the bike lane that's being traced all the way through the whole valley and back up. This is actually very near that, and there should be some connectivity to that.
You rode within a couple of blocks of this site.
Can you go back to the overall budget page? The last slide you're on, sorry. I just want to make sure that we've got the numbers right. So the 9.8 is for the full project, is that correct?
That's complete build out of the park. That's phase 1 and 2 that you saw, plus remaining future phases. There's some trails and boardwalks still remaining. There's pickleball. There's some outdoor unstructured things like Gaga, things of that sort.
So right now, with current grants and the city commitment, you're at 3.8, 3.9 million. Is that correct? The total 9.8?
2.5.
Roughly speaking.
Yeah, pretty close, yes. You might notice in the previous slide that the match may look a little different. Yeah, I think you keyed in on that. You go back one slide.
That's what I was noticing in our document. It shows that it's.
So yeah, maybe we did a poor job explaining this, but we've been working with the LWCF grant to help apply our match there as well as to the UORIC portion of it.
Okay, so you're seeking 750, and it says the total project cost phase 2 is 1.5. Here it's showing it's $1 million. I just wanted to understand if there was something that I'm missing there, and it may be wrong on our sheet. I don't know.
So in the application, it said 1.5.
It says that the total project cost is 1.5 in the application.
That might be there. Ron Clay prepared this for us.
We might also be looking at eligible costs on there versus, eligible.
I mean, it looks like you guys have a ton of commitment. I'm not using that to scrutinize the project.
No,
It's an
I
awesome project. I just wanted to make sure I
I
understood
saw
that.
your eyebrows. And I will say also to the future, we have done a good job of making sure our impact fees are sufficient to be able to cover as much as possible thing. I feel like we have a healthy impact fee in regards to our park system.
And do you guys does Cache Valley do a regional master plan for outdoor rec projects or not really? Like no communities kind of tie into our national plan?
No, it's
We are working on a master, and so we have a great trails coordinator in Cache County, Landis Schwenker, who is coordinating trails and active transportation in Cache Valley. There are a number of levels where we feel both indoor recreation and outdoor recreation should really be a regional, maybe even countywide sort of service provided, but it doesn't exist. It's really up to the individual communities at this point. And then we share very well with what
I'll give you this as feedback, and if you can deliver it. I would go talk to Dave. We're handing out $17.7 million, and there's one application. Cache County. And that's yours.
Really?
Yeah. And so to the extent we can kind of get the communities to come together and be kind of more thoughtful about big regional projects.
Maybe Nipley will take that head and we'll just forward all that. No, this is our second try here. Last year we weren't successful, and we're hoping that we get some serious consideration here. This is a great project. We're excited about the project.
Mary, you mentioned that you've done the survey work with your residents, and really good turnout. Can you just talk about that a little bit more, just to demonstrate the demand for this type of project, and what was it specifically that they wanted that this would be talking about the unstructured programming and biking? I think that'd be helpful to know as we're prioritizing projects, just the demand that's there.
Yeah, thank you, Cameron. So again, the survey was in response to part of our process of writing an update to our Parks and Rec master plan, right? And we're actually trying to figure out how we got such a great response. We had over 25% of Nibley's residents respond to this survey. Part of it was the signs around town said, should we raise your taxes?
Question mark.
It didn't start as a question mark. It was, we're going to raise your taxes, and Justin toned it down a little. So that generated a lot of interest. It's sometimes how you ask the question, right? In addition, we also put QR codes in each of our parks so people could go to the park and take a survey specific to that facility and also the general survey. And so not only from that survey, we had a youth version of the survey. And we had, again, a town of about 8,000 people. We invited anyone who use our parks, including our Firefly Nature Park. Yes, we have a Firefly Nature Park in Nibley. We're very, very proud of you guys. Have helped us with an outdoor classroom in that spot, so on and so forth. A lot of people from outside of Nibley come and recreate in our spaces. And so when I say we had 1,400 youth participants in the youth survey out of a town of 8,000, that's pretty astounding as well. To get kids interested in having a say in what these people in government do, we're happy with that. And so between the youth survey and the adult survey, and also work by our citizen volunteer Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, we said, look, we're doing a great job on programmed recreation. 40% of the kids that are in Nibley City's soccer program come from outside Nibley to participate. So we're doing a great job on soccer, on baseball, on softball, on t-ball, on ultimate frisbee, on flag football. But the kids told us through the survey, through their comments, and parents as well, you know, what do you like to do in Nibley in terms of recreation? Number one was we like to ride our bikes. And so that to us is an unprogrammed activity. And so as we work through the questions and work through the surveys, we say, we're doing a great job on the program stuff, but what can we offer to kids to say, I'm just going to go do something without having to be there with a whole team full of people to take part in it. And based on the response about riding the bikes, about how kids like to do that, and then how we can hit multiple age levels. As Tom mentioned, the track has all these crazy things on it that I would never try as an adult. But apparently kids like to do those things. One of the interesting things, we have another park in Nibley, which is sort of our central park. We have some space next to the parking lot that we just piled up dirt. And that place, the kids went out, volunteered, took down the weeds, and they just go on the roller coaster park on piles of dirt. And so just by watching the kids in their activities, and you guys went to a skills track last night apparently. I mean, this is what kids like to do. So I hope I'm answering the question. That's why we think we're on the right track, so to speak, here.
Yeah, love the data gathering, and yeah, connecting it to a wider area plan would be huge. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you've done for us. Thanks for the time here, and please let us know if you have other questions. We'll be happy.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Dad.
Go away. Thanks.
Zach,
You guys have a lot of food here. I'm trying to figure out if you're all going on a camping trip. Is that part of the agenda?
What keeps us going for 2 days?
Because y'all have high metabolism.
Yeah, we're outdoor recreation. We need all that.
well, welcome Zach and Renee. We'll get your materials up and going. And, you know,
Jason, to that point though, I think I would love to have that question asked, and it doesn't have to be a prerequisite, but
yeah, I think
does your county have a master plan?
Factor in, yeah, for sure. I think that's huge. To me, that means everything. When I read it, an application, and there's some bigger plan items to do that adds a lot. So it's good.
That's something we do ask on the application, that if they have a regional, if they have a master plan, and it's part of it, so.
Or for a regional master plan.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And there may be a way for us to adjust how we score points
Yeah.
based on that too.
Yeah.
All right, they're ready?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome.
Yeah, so thanks for having us. My name's Zach Maughan. I'm a forest landscape architect for the UN Wasatch Cache. I've got Renee Flanagan, our recreation staff officer for the forest. And we're here to present on New Point Day Use Area at Pineview. So yeah, I just go to the next slide, jump right in, try to be respectful of time. So just to provide some project context for this, this is part of a larger planning process that we've been going through with Pineview to try to identify how we can revitalize some of the recreation sites and provide amenities for folks up at Pineview Reservoir, which is probably our busiest recreation site on the forest. When you take into account all the sites at Pineview, there's 15 different sites. And New Point is specifically part of phase 2, which has been an effort to redesign 4 sites and then design a new site, which is New Point. And so it's part of the Great American Outdoors Act project that we have on the forest, one of them that we have. And more specifically, it's part of that port ramp, Windsurfer Beach, Pineview Trailhead kind of area on the west side of the reservoir. And so this is a new site. We go to the next slide. Zooming in a little bit more on the area here, you can see how these 3 different sites interact with one another. And the proposal for the design here is to improve sections of 158 and then to also build a new access that connects Pineview Trailhead to New Point and then over to Port Ramp. And so this is part of that larger context here that we've been working on. Go to the next slide. So just a broad, just an overview of the project. So it's a day use area that we've proposed. It's new construction. This site doesn't have anything on it currently. It's just the peninsula that you can see here down in the left-hand corner. But it's intended to improve some parking and capacity issues that we have in the area. So a lot of people park on 158, which is a 50-mile-per-hour highway. They get out of their car, walk along the edge of the highway, and then they walk down into Pineview Trailhead to access the beach that's there. Or they go up Skyline, or they access Pineview West Trail that's also in this area. And so this is just increasing that opportunity for that beach and water access to help us in that, just use that's pretty crazy here. So, and you can see it's got a nice beach area there. And, that's just an example of the parking along the road there. So you can go to the next slide. So site features, there are 67 parking stalls designed into this, 5 covered picnic sites, 2 vault restrooms, an accessible path to the beach and surrounding sites. There's bicycle racks, trash receptacles, and then a loading and unloading zone. So just trying to provide those amenities for folks. And what that looks like, if you go to the next slide, this is a plan view of that site. So you can kind of see how it lays on that peninsula, the access to the beach. One thing I'll mention too, that this is fully designed. So we have construction documents, specifications for this. So it is shovel ready, and we're in the process right now of putting together the contracting package for this whole area. And so I think right now the intention is to make this an option. Should we be successful, we'll be able to award that option. And if we're not, we'll proceed with trying to just approach Pineview Trailhead and Port Ramp. So covered budget, it's a $750,000 request. Want to emphasize that the way we're setting this up is we're really trying to focus this funding on the site amenities. So rather than having this funding go towards paying for just a parking lot, this is more, we want to emphasize getting the restrooms, the covered picnic sites, the accessible concrete paths, the signs and fee station information that's there at the information hub, and other site amenities like, any fencing that we need to put up or anything like that. It's smaller items. And then the match is really those improvements to the roadway to get in there, both along 158 as well as into the site. And within that match, we're not including anything past New Point or anything into Pineview Trailhead. We're just focusing on that access down into the site. That's how it's been written into the grant. And then any signs that are out on that, those other roadways would be part of that. Mobilization, grading, fill, those would be part of that match. And I might have undersold it a little bit because there is 8.9 million available for this whole area. And so the remaining amount is going towards Pineview Trailhead and Port Ramp to try to bring those sites up to a higher level because they also need revitalization, but they're existing. So this grant's not really appropriate for asking for any funding for that. So this is just going towards the new items that we're looking to build in the area. Lastly, just emphasizing some of the partnerships. We've worked extensively with Weaver County on this. They've been instrumental in getting the design work done. We've worked with them to hire an outside contractor to do that work. We've also worked with our concessionaire, which is Utah Recreation Company, make sure that we understand how these sites are functioning and where some of the deficits are. And then Trails Foundation of Northern Utah, we've worked with them to ensure that our trail connectivity remained in place in this area. And then we've also worked with UEWR, especially with regards to aquatic invasive species in Pineview. So there's going to be a new dip tank that's going to be installed at Pineview. It'll be at Port Ramp. So I think it's one of the first ones, or first one in this area. I think there's another one at Utah Lake, but it'll really change how we can manage that in this area. And then we've also got Weaver Basin Job Corps building a kiosk. So that's a program that's associated with the Forest Service where we have younger students working to build skills in the trades, and they're building all the kiosk structures that will go around Pineview. And then we've had our regional office helping with design review and just input on the overall process. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So questions or anything I can help with, or Renee can help with? Yeah.
Same kind of question as I asked initially. With these facilities, are you planning for like pull-throughs for buses, active transportation options?
We do have a loading and unloading zone, and everything's been designed to be able to accommodate like fire truck size. So there is a loading and unloading zone. We don't call that out specifically at this time, but it's been designed in a way that it could accommodate that in the future if that becomes a need in the area. So we've tried to design everything with that kind of intent in mind, providing areas not just for parking, but loading, unloading. So you could have in the future, if there's a potential to have some kind of, transit system come in, we could adapt to that without having to make significant changes.
We do have a lot of trailering here because of the Skyline Trail and motorcycles. Some people have motorcycles, but so there's a lot of opportunity here for larger scale vehicles.
There'll be a fee area.
The intent, I think, currently there's nothing there, and Pineview Trailhead is not a fee area, but I think the intent in the future is to make these fee areas so that we can maintain them into the future, because currently those non-fee areas have been really hard to get maintenance done on them, just with our situation.
Yeah, I think the restaurant at Pineview Trailhead was built in the 60s. It's not, nobody likes to use it, which is unfortunate. But so only right now the four their fee areas are Port Ramp, Anderson Cove, Cemetery Point, and Middle Inlet, and those are run by our concessionaire. So the goal is to have the entire reservoir managed by our concessionaire, all 15 sites at some point in the future. So as we develop them, as we reconstruct them, they'll all go under the same management structure, and that'll allow the fees we collect to maintain them over the long term, which is great. So we'll actually have a mechanism to maintain them.
About winter use, I know one of the other problems you have like for ice fishermen parking along the highway. Is that going to help alleviate that problem as well?
It should, yeah. I think the intent is, I know we've talked about winter use. I think we're going to see how it develops, but I mean, Pineview Trailhead is open usually in the wintertime. It's not plowed, so we don't have that capability to plow. So we'd have to come to an agreement with one of our partners as to how to get that done. But we are looking at how do we provide access in this general area between Port Ramp, Pineview Trailhead, New Point? How do we provide that access in the winter for ice fishing? Because it is a use in this, you know, they kind of, they move around in the winter time depending on where the fish are and where things are happening, but
But they also move around based on what got plowed.
yeah, that too, yeah. So it just kind of depends. So that is something that we've been considering, and we're talking about how do we manage that in the future in this area.
It's a big maintenance issue. I mean, plowing reduces asphalt life by almost tenfold. So we got to figure out how to manage that and where we can find that, place that opportunity, and also maintain the infrastructure to continue to provide that. So I think we'll look at that as a long-term management and how we can provide that opportunity, where it would be appropriate.
And Zach, you may have mentioned this, but are you planning for non-motorized boat access at this site, like Sox and kayaks?
Yeah, so I didn't mention that specifically, but this site is provides kind of a unique opportunity for folks that want to recreate at the reservoir. Is that peninsula is basically where the boundary line for our wakeless zone is. So if you go towards Pineview Trailhead and the neck of the reservoir, that's all a wakeless area. So that's where a lot of people go to do stand-up paddleboarding, go swim. There's a swim zone down further towards the neck. A lot of kayaking in this area. So that's definitely an opportunity that we wanted to make sure we provided here. And that's why we left a lot of this parking without an island separating it, so that if people do come in with like a trailer or something like that, that's pulling some kayaks or stand-up paddleboards, they can unload in this area and then get down to the water fairly easily. And so, but the other unique thing is, since it is on that border, this photograph, it's cut off, but you can actually see there's a boat anchored on this beach too. So people will come in and pick up their family or friends from this area too. Even though it's wakeless, they can still come in, stop, pick somebody up, and then go out on the reservoir. So provides kind of both opportunities.
Okay. Any more questions from the committee? No? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Ogden. Okay, maybe Ogden Business Exchange Surf Wave project up next.
All right.
Do you have someone online as well?
Yes. Yep.
Hey, and you guys hear me? Just want to mic check.
Yep. We're good.
Awesome.
Right on. So I'm philsuiter. See some familiar faces here. So I'm with Ogden City. I'm a stormwater engineer, and then also help project manage some river restoration projects. I'm going to be co-presenting with quinn.donnelly with river restoration. His firm did the design for this project that we'll be presenting on. So it's the Ogden Surf Wave project. So our goal here with this project is to enhance the in-water recreation opportunities. So talking a little bit about what we already have here on the Weaver River is the kayak park, which we built in 2021. And it's been a great success. Couldn't have done it without the grant, with your help. Such a success that it actually won the project of the year. So thank you for that. I think it was actually the 2022. I was looking at pictures. The project was built 2021, but the award was 2022. But been seeing plenty of kayakers. That's a surfer there. I just saw that yesterday. So it's the first time I saw a surfer at the kayak park, but it's been really popular. A lot of kayakers there. The flow was just right enough to make a green face where that surfer could find a little spot to stay in and surf it. So I was watching him for a while and sent that picture over to Quinn. He loaded it up. So our project is just downriver of the existing kayak park, proposed project. And here's a picture of the existing area. There's a weir dam there that we're going to remove and replace with the feature that will make the surf wave. But this project will add access to the river's edge. It'll also improve fish passage. Right now the fish are blocked pretty good.
The kayak upstream?
Kayak park is upstream, yeah. So this is an existing kayak park, and then just further downstream around the bend, about a quarter mile. And I'll show a map in the next slide, is this area. So yeah, so here's some pins. So the green pin is the existing kayak park. And then the yellow pin is where the proposed surf wave would be. And so this would be in an Ogden Business Exchange area. Right now we have like a Rooster's Brewery there at the corner.
And then of course the kayak park, and then just upriver is a popular a park there where there's a dog park and people go play baseball. And then most importantly, along the river, there is a paved path. So there's plenty of bikers, people walking the trail. It's just a popular area. And then also near our surf wave there's a new mountain bike trail that was put in a few years back. There's some wooden features and some wall rides. And so we're really trying to make this area kind of a hub for like mountain biking, you know, eating at the brewery, hang out at the river, kayak, surf, all that stuff. So these are the existing conditions. So this is the weir, sketchy weir. You can see some rebar sticking out there. It goes across the entire river, about a 3-foot drop. So if anybody's kayaking at the park or just floating through, quarter-mile down, they'll come across this beast. So we want to remove that and then put in a surf wave on one half and then the fish passage on the other half. And that surf wave, I mean, they'll have some ledges. Someone can get access right up to it, jump right in. Quinn can dive into some other examples of the existing surf wave. But essentially, this is an issue. We don't want people feeling scared to go in the kayak park and missing the, you know, the takeout point, because there's not really a takeout point between the one we put into the kayak park and then this area. So we really want to enhance this area and make people feel comfortable to float the whole thing and have a good time doing it. So.
Thanks, Phil. Yes, whitewater community. There's a pretty easy learning curve, less equipment than kayaking. That just brings a lot of people to the site. You know, we're finding it. We were involved in the Bend project. We're finding that over half the users that come and use the park that they have there that has both surf waves and kayak waves are there for the river surfing. This lower picture is a picture of the surf wave in Bend, and there's, you know, almost all summer there's people stacked up there ready to use the wave. And we're also finding that, you know, these businesses pop up to support it, you know, industry to sell surfboards and, you know, just kind of create a community there and to provide lessons and whatnot. So this, it's a huge opportunity for Ogden City. And so this combined with a kayak park would really make this the, you know, kind of premier, you know, park style whitewater spot in the entire state. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here's a quick schematic of the project. We're in the 60% design phase. So the main surf wave is here at the top on the south side. And then on the north side is the fish and boat passage. And so right now, as Phil said, that's not available. It's a big navigation hazard in the river and fish aren't able to get through this stretch. And then moving downstream, so the left of the photo here on the south bank will be an accessible ramp. And so this will actually be the only kind of ramp access to the Weber River in this entire stretch. So we're looking at this as an opportunity to provide folks with reduced abilities to get down to the water's edge. And it also provides an easy access point for maintenance of the surf wave or the fish ladder, just to kind of clear out sediment and debris that comes down during runoff. And then between the surf wave and the access point is a bouldered kind of bank area. We're going to keep all the trees up above there to provide shade here. And so this is just a spot for people to hang out that, you know, are on the trail and want to have lunch or just want to watch people surf. You know, we find that, you know, more people come to just watch folks surfing or playing in these waves than actually get in the water. So we want to provide that opportunity for folks just to have a nice hangout spot along the river and kind of check out the action. And then finally, downstream of the structure, we're going to put in a small bank of boulders and bladders to help control the tailwater on this surf wave. Just makes it able to dial it in even more. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here's a picture of what these adjustable waves bladders look like. And so they're going to be put in for two reasons. One is to really kind of expand the season. This graph here is the flow in the orange line in the Ogden River just above the site. And so we want to, these waves work down between like 200 and 300 CFS. And so we're really trying to use these bladders to really maximize that season. So, you know, instead of a 1 or 2 month long period, we're looking at, you know, 4 to 5 months, depending on the year. You know, years like last year or this year, where the water's been up for a while, could be a lot longer. And then, so the bladders will also help with flood control. So, you know, the existing structure is static. They can't lower it during high flow periods, which increases the flood risk in this area. So by having these adjustable bladders in place, we can lower them all during high water, provide conveyance. And so, you know, this structure is this project is a great opportunity to mitigate the existing hazard and build this amenity for Ogden City and the region. Next slide, please. So before I hand it back to Phil to wrap up, I just wanted to show you one example. So this is a surf wave in Bend, Oregon on the Deschutes River. We were involved, not only local users, but the industry behind that. Businesses will come from all over the state of Oregon and all over the country to try it, including some well-known like traditional ocean surfers and blog posts and all those things about it. It's been very well known. And it's been a huge success for Bend. They estimate that tens of thousands of people visit the surf wave every year, and hundreds of thousands of people visit the overall park. And so we're looking at this as an opportunity for Ogden and the region to just really kind of elevate their game in the river recreation amenities. And so with that, I'll turn it back to Phil.
Awesome. Thanks, Quinn. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I mean, I'm from Ogden. I love Ogden. We're all about skiing, snowboarding, mountain biking, and now with the kayak park, I really want to put the surf wave and have it put Ogden on the map for people either just passing through. It's not too far up I-15 till you get off the 24th Street exit, go a little bit east, and then boom, you're there, and then you can get back on. It would be awesome. I've talked to Visit Ogden. They're stoked on it. Weber State, they could profit from it too with selling and renting out surfboards. So the status of it right now, preliminary design, 6% complete. We have some permits in draft form, final design later this year. Construction, our goal is end of 2025, 2026 time. So financials, it's a doozy. It's a $3 million project involving everything. And the city's fully committed though. We're committed to the maintenance. We're committed to the match funds. And then this grant will be key in making that happen. So we're also going after other grants, the National Fish, FAFSA program, NPS, the NIFWIF, 5-star, Water Smart, any private donors, WRI. I'm going to go after as many opportunities as we can to make this thing happen. So appreciate your time. And next slide is just the last one, just to get any questions.
All right,
thank you.
He might have answered it, but what do you anticipate? I mean, do you think this is a 4-month of the year? Do you think it's a 6-month of the year? Or will people be out there in the winter with their full gear?
Oh, that'd be awesome. I know with the bladder, it makes so you can adjust it based on the flows, because the flows vary so much on the Leaf River.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure with like winter flows. What do you think, Quinn? I mean, you guys designed it.
Yeah, so I mean, I do think that kind of late summer, fall, when the irrigation is, really cranking, that there won't be enough water in this park. But outside of that period, through the winter, there's typically 200 to 300 CFS, cubic feet per second through this stretch. And then obviously it's in the spring through runoff early summer. So I'm thinking in a low year, probably 4 months, in a higher year, probably 6-7 months, depending. And I know in Bend, it's in the mountains, it's high elevation. People use that year round. They're out there in dry suits and wetsuits and using it. It depends on your level of comfort, I guess.
Yeah. And that's the biggest, the only complaint we get from kayakers to the kayak parks. We're like, oh man, we wish the flow was high, like all year round, because it is a short window, but they love it when it is good. And so this surf wave with the adjustable bladder, it'll help people be able to recreate longer, right? Not just a peak months.
And does the city adjust the bladder, or is it the user that can kind of adjust?
No, the city will. So yeah, we hire a separate group and maybe even have a position, maybe mine, to be there and just to kind of like gauge you, like, okay, for this flow, we'll adjust it to this, and then you can kind of see it visually. All right, there's a perfect green wave, and then just use it. So it's connected to one spot too. You can adjust it with your tablet. I don't even have to be there, but we'd like to be. But
how long is the construction anticipated to kind of tear out of the weir and construct?
So it's based on funding, but so it starts late summer, fall 2025, and then into 2026 and wrap up before spring runoff.
And depending on the contractor, I probably 2 or 3 months worth of construction. So like Phil said, it's, our main constraint here is the funding. I think everything else is lining up in place, so we're really pushing on the funding piece.
Just a reminder, our funding window is a 2-year funding window. If we approve funding, how long do they have to spend the funds?
Yeah.
28 months. 20 months.
That was my one, because I reviewed this project, and that was my one concern is the timeline. So
yeah.
And then along those lines, permitting, what type of permitting progress? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we're having river restoration go after the permitting, hiring them to do that. And I know that they're in draft form, the floodplain permit. I forget the name of the other one, Quinn.
Probably an Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I can speak to that real quick. So the floodplain permit, we're basically done with. It's administered by the local floodplain authority, which is Ogden City. And we're not showing a rise here because of that ability to lower the bladders. The Army Corps, we've had our initial consultation with the Army Corps, and we've had the 404 and the stream alteration permit in draft form. We've had the wetlands delineated, the cultural resource survey done. So yeah, we're anticipating submitting that here in a couple of weeks and kind of going through that process this summer. So well before we get into final design and construction.
Is the existing structure abandoned? Is the irrigation utilization of that's gone away? Or
Yeah, it's gone away. It was used way back in the day when the railroad had steam engines and they divert some of the water into some open channel and then, yeah, use it for the Union Station.
And there's no longer even a water right in the state for this structure.
Yeah.
Cool. They could have used that dynamite that they.
Darn it.
Love your enthusiasm.
Yeah, no, thanks. Appreciate it. And appreciate your time. And yeah, if there's no more questions, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Just a follow-up on this project. You know, I live in Cache Valley and my friends who are kayakers are going to Ogden to kayak right now, even though our Logan River is starting.
Some sort of intermediate progress that you can.
We could talk to them and be like, hey, we didn't get as many grants as we thought. Can we fork over a little more safe funds and make this happen? And my hope is that he would be down too, but I mean, there's a lot of things to balance. But with the help of river restoration, we may even hire on, an additional group to go after grant funds to just really hit it hard and get that money so we can make it happen.
Okay. Christian. All right. Well.
St. George's couldn't come this morning, so they'll be here at 11. So we have an hour in between the next presentation.
Road stacked.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
We'll take it out of your grant.
Just walk out here like he owns our snacks.
Please never survive like 20%.
All right, so, yeah, we do have one more, but it's not until 11, St. City. So, take a quick break and then come back and, maybe we can get you or chunks. Sound good? Yep. Okay, heard a motion.
Second.
Yeah. Right. Any business? Is the only real business that we can probably make progress on right now is the tier 1 list. So here we are. We do have a pretty good collection already approved to go on to our final selections, but and I think Dennis is the one that's not here.
We're all excited.
Where did we, sorry, I did leave a little early yesterday. Where did we land on the regional? I'm sorry.
On tier 1 stuff?
On tier 1.
Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, we approved 16 of them. So there was a motion to say that anything that has 3 high X's that we would evaluate, so everything down to 41.33 that also have 3 high X's got approved. And then also the things in the top 10 that had only 2 high that got approved. So the first, let's see, 1, 2, 3. The first 9 are all moved on to the list for final.
First 9 on yesterday's list or today's
list?
Yeah.
There should be all the ones that are green.
Oh, yeah.
Spreadsheet.
So we're on the amount of
Thank you. Thank you.
It's almost like you did it on purpose to make things easier for us.
I just couldn't on the keyboard.
So anything that has green on the funding, we're going to thank you, Patrick and Carolyn. Thank you for putting it out too.
You guys do all the work and yet we still don't.
Hey, you know what would be really cool?
Green means, green means go.
Oh, we're gonna make you do this next year too.
Yeah. Didn't we actually make another motion to do all the ones that didn't have a negative? I thought we had done that.
We did the three.
That we advance those other projects that we hadn't already addressed yesterday and advance those.
So 40 in there then.
39.33 Heron Hills, because that
Okay, we're
has
splitting
that
it.
2 4 and one medium.
Okay.
So it's basically all of the
Everything.
the greens with the yellow with 1 or 2 yellows and no reds. So I'd exclude Manti West Rim Trail because it's got 1 low score in there, and we can talk about that one separately. But my motion would then also include, I've gained a lot of trust for the last number of years with all of you. I think we advance these and don't spend the time to go through the 30-second narrative with each one of them. I think everyone has really proven out what they're kind of, and gotten a good comfort level for that score level, and just take that as a block and then start moving on to the other ones we need to have some dialogue on.
I have one that I would like to talk.
Okay, well, I will do that.
Let's
So we have a motion on the table. And so
I'll second the
You
motion.
just want to go without discussion. I have one of
Tom,
those. that I'd like to
hey,
talk
by the
about.
way, there was a bunch of us that.
Good to see you, Tom.
By the way, don't eat any of the food over there. Or is it all gone now?
All right, so the motion is, and so just to summarize, this is a list of 16 projects, and on bottom end, Heron Hills, going all the way up to the ones that did not get on the list yesterday. So that's 16 of them. They've had 3 reviewers. Everything that happened yesterday was just like acclamation, yes, yes, yes. So we'll forego any real presentation unless there is some discussion. So, is there discussion? Aaron?
Yeah, is it the Dimple Dell one? Isn't that the one that I asked you all about?
That's the 41.33 with 1 green and 2 yellows.
Am I confusing them? I think that's the one that.
Lone Peak, that's the Lone Peak Trailhead?
Dimple Dell.
3 to 5.
Lone Peak, yes.
Okay.
Isn't that the one that basically has already fully funded the project? And yet still applied for money?
Was that the one that you asked me about?
I think it is. Now I'm doubting myself.
I can't remember exactly which one it was. One caveat too, Bicknell Canal Trail has rescinded their application, so that one is no longer.
Which one?
It's right above Heron Hills.
Thank you.
Did they say why? I'm curious.
Yes, they did. You want to go into that or?
It's a bummer.
Give me 15 seconds.
Yeah, 15 seconds. It's just it's the match and it's the needs to have help with the permitting, the engineering,
Gotcha.
which the outdoor recreation infrastructure grant could help with. So we'd still like to work with them and help them get there, but it's just
For
a
this
small
year, it's
town
on
without a lot
pause.
of
Yeah.
resources.
I would like, it's a good town that needs
Yeah.
stuff like this.
And we're giving them some help.
Okay, good.
All right, so yeah, Jake, Aaron, you guys all review that as well.
Who seconded that motion?
Nobody. Well, two of us did. We had 2 seconds.
And then just as I'm trying to like kind of get stuff up on this end, so that was all of those, but you decided to take out the manti one because it had one.
Just
low,
it
right?
had one low. I just
That was
figured,
his
let's get yellow and greens above 39.33 and move them along.
And just without even discussion, I would like to amend it to pull the Dimple Dell and Pink Trailhead for a quick discussion.
I'll second that.
Yeah, what was it? So our motion that we're considering is that list of 16. We have second, and now we're doing discussion to that motion. You brought up this one.
So when a Bicknell's pulling out, then we need to pull Bicknell out.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah. So then,
and then Manti, just because of the one.
Right, yeah,
I just
Manti
wanted
too.
to have a discussion about that if somebody didn't.
so then it's an amended motion. There's all of those except for Bicknell, correct?
Yes.
Still good to second that, Tom? Okay. So then, yeah, if you'd like to discuss more on the Dimple Dell Lone Peak Trailhead?
Yeah. So the big thing here, I mean, it's not like it's a bad project. I think it's a great project. It's just that they're matching the funds that they're bringing to the table are the amount of the cost of the project, and they have asked for 200,000 in addition. And their explanation to Caroline was that that's in case there are overages on the project, and that makes me I'm a little uncomfortable.
We also reviewed that project last year.
Huh?
They applied for that project last year.
And we didn't fund it. I don't remember why we didn't fund it, but it just seems a weird approach for asking for funding when you already have the money for it.
We're their contingencies.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, and I didn't catch that in the budget, but now that I'm going through, because the narrative does say 550. The budget says 350 ERCC. But, and then they're all, because the budget on the narrative, it's 200 cash match, which doesn't make sense. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I asked about it because I was confused. And so they clarified and said that indeed this was contingency funding, and that they did have funding currently in the amount that they estimated the project cost.
Okay.
So I don't know how we deal with situations like that, but I wanted to make sure everybody was aware that that's what this request was, because it seemed unusual.
I changed my score. I know we just went through all this.
It feels like a good project. It's just that the accounting concerns me. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's a valid concern. I think everybody's listening to it and hears you there. So we'll put let's pick by this one. We can further amend. You can amend it again if you'd like. It does. Not that it's excluded at this point, but it takes it off of the easy list.
Right.
Yeah, so we're not advancing that one. That's the amended motion is to not advance the Dimple. And then we're not advancing Bicknell, and we're not advancing Manti West, but we're advancing the rest.
Yes.
So just a discussion on motion. I know with Manti, it's got that low. I'd like to hear about that low.
What? The reason for mine saying that was like not to not have that conversation about Manti, just say, let's get these off, and then we'll go back and have that conversation about.
So I guess, let's call for a vote on the motion so we can talk about.
So we've got the amended. Are you okay with seconding?
So we've removed those three from this list. Any other projects on here that we are talking about advancing that we need to discuss? We're talking about, again, just to review, West Haven City, Bethel Park, Vernal Via Parada, Indian Creek Climbing Conservation, Nordic Ski Trail Grooming, Ogden Valley, Old Spanish Trail Archery Arena, March of Meadows Trail, Flaming Gorge Trail Phase 1, Wild Willow Nature Park, Richfield Lions Park, Sycamores Park, Jackson Flat, West Mountain Trail Phase 2, and Heron Hills. Any of those that we need discussion on? Okay, so then we can vote. All those in favor of moving that group onto our list of those that will advance to final, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion passes unanimously, so it's a good chunk.
We stay strong.
I'll make a motion that we discuss Manti West Rim Trail so that we can advance it if possible.
Okay. Order, second.
A second?
Second by Aaron. Any discussion on that? Who scored the map? Looks like Patrick, Jeff, and Lincoln. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Manti-West Mountain Trail.
You gave it the low.
Yeah, that's, I guess that's what.
And Patrick's not present, so I think it was him and then your his perspective.
I gave it a high, said it seemed to have a regional impact and added to the existing infrastructure in the area, so I thought there was a decent tie-in. I always like the rural projects.
I gave it a high as well.
Okay. That's good.
Seems that the score kind of plays that out, even though on the more subjective, he put medium. I think the score, you know, there's happening, good project. I'd like to advance it.
Okay. All right, that's the motion that we're considering. We've had discussion on the motion. All in favor of advancing the Manti-West Rim Trail on the list of those that will finalize, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. At one moment. Okay. So that, you know, there are those, you know, well, not two, but one. We've got all the way down to 39.33. We evaluated or had an opportunity to say yes on all of them, except for the Dimple Dell Lone Peak Trailhead. That's the one blue. This is not.
So you're gonna keep highlighting that, it's gonna bring that as we do. Straight.
So basically from the Miners Hill Library Amphitheater, 39.33 down.
So,
oh yeah,
we let Minersville out because it was one.
Just have one low.
Yeah, but I would like to make a motion to maybe look at, I'm just looking at the scores on these, the ones that are 37.33, and I just like to hear, I mean, there's one in there that has 2 negatives. We could take that one out, but it's scored high.
That was one of the
I'd like to
negatives.
see those moved up for discussion.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah.
Because I was on the negative vote. There was an interesting discussion we started yesterday that impacts the reason I was a no vote, it was scored high. And if it's for the discussion, so is your motion then, Russ, that we look at the 39.33, 38.67, 37.33, like that group of 5?
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, everything 37.33 up to the ones we'd already discussed.
That's a group of 4, correct?
Yes.
What's that?
Yeah, because one of the 39.
Heron Hills is already on the list. So we're talking about Minersville Library Amphitheater, Stellar Vista, Observatory, Tool City, Drew Bay Road, and Mill Valley Skate Park. Those 4.
Those 4, correct.
Okay, seconded by Cameron. And, okay, any discussion on any of those 4?
Did the Minersville Library make it on already? Sorry.
Not yet.
Okay.
Now that was a cutoff. That's why I just, you know, I looked at the Minersville one and I ranked it really high. So I would like to hear.
Concrete slab, and extra concrete for seating, picnic benches under the pavilion, signage, that. And why I ranked it low is I didn't catch a connection to outdoor recreation other than just a shade structure near a library.
I have one information. So we awarded this group a UCOR funding this year. So they came and wanted to kind of have they're going to rent out bikes and kayaks from the library to go out to area out there. So they came to me with an idea and I said, maybe you could tie this into maybe a staging area where you learn how to bike, how to kayak, how to clean, whatever that is. So that's the narrative that this was at least proposed in, that they're going to have equipment that they'll prep and maybe do lessons here before you go out and use it.
So can I jump in real fast?
Go ahead, Tammy.
This is Tammy. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. And I have to apologize again because I'm having technical difficulties coming from Minersville. But this is my hometown. I do have to say, we don't have professional grant writers. So we're kind of roughing it and throwing things out. So it's not as polished and as presented as a lot of the other ones, the higher funded stuff. But Minersville has very few facilities. You know, we're a town of 750, but this is also, you know, like a county-wide deal where they all accumulate and congregate at the library. And like Carolyn said, that they're going to rent the bikes, they're going to do the kayaks and the paddle boards and those kind of stuff out of the library. And most of our summer activities are training and different things. This would be the hub, the center of it on the outside. And that would be, you know, kind of the hub of whatever activity outdoor rec is moving forward. We just don't have any funding mechanism from the town itself. So I recommended that they put in for this, and was also part of the scoring bunch. So I think it's a really good project, and I'm 100% behind funding these rural places, because we might not be shiny, we might not be polished, but we always need the money.
Well, I appreciate that perspective, Tammy and Caroline as well. And the rendering, I think, tells a better story too. So we did have that conversation about amphitheaters. What type of outdoor recreation activity is that? I think there's a pretty good connection with this particular one here. It is infrastructure supporting outdoor recreation and a few different types of stuff. All right, so any other discussion on those remaining three: Stella Vista Observatory, Drew Bay Road paved rec trail, and Little Valley Skate Park?
Yeah. Oh, I just had a question on our overall budget before we advance those. I'd just be curious.
Yeah.
Hey, Kenny. We can see you now.
Nice bucks.
Yeah.
I kind of like him. That's actually mine.
Sweet.
That's why I shut my camera off, because I'm distracting the committee.
So this is just tier one.
This is just the tier one. Okay.
And if you want to see it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see all.
Yeah, so we got 3.8 in tier one, and then overall 5.7.
Okay.
Rural is looking pretty strong.
And yeah, our rural looks
Look at that.
More, yeah,
like
strong.
60.
Well, I think that this group will even it out a little bit here.
Okay.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these three, so with
So
the,
that's the, sorry, it's good. I keep getting you off. The total amount awarded is only 55.7 an hour.
We haven't done.
We haven't done the regional.
Yeah.
What's the total budget for regional? It's 8.2 million is what it is.
Plans we can fund everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know, but we kind of talked about having that $16 million number, and
Yeah.
I know that's kind of what I'm shooting for.
I think that's good.
And I don't want to fund crap, Lincoln. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we don't have to. Bad precedent just because we can't.
Yes, Pat.
So we talked about this a little earlier, but we have, I think, 4 amphitheater applications, and that's one that historically, I think it's really been kind of in a gray area. So as you kind of discuss just amphitheaters in general, we would love to get your advice on like how we operate with those in the future. I think previous years we've just thought they were ineligible, but when we received multiple applications like this, I think last year we saw with like the outdoor fitness stuff at parks. Is that? So again, amphitheater, if y'all have general thoughts on how we operate with those in the future, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, and out of the same pot of money, we're funding the outdoor classroom, because most of those are amphitheaters.
Yeah.
So we're actually doing a bigger, maybe even more outdoor when we're doing big amphitheaters based on precedent.
but I like
Do we
that.
consider an amphitheater an outdoor classroom? and put it into that group? Or,
What's the cap on that?
But then, yeah, that's small.
oh, that's
So
true.
this gives
Yeah,
more
it's
money.
small.
But I like Evan's point, maybe even if, if they're talking about one of these outdoor spaces where we've talked about yesterday, how some of them appear to just be picnic areas, as opposed to classrooms, as we talked about that, tying it into outdoor recreation, just so some sort of,
Kind of like what we talked about with minors though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
depends on what the program
Right.
is.
Yeah, I think it's very specific to the actual project and it's worth, those are the ones that we probably do need to get a little deeper and dig into, find out what is the outdoor recreation tie. And if there isn't one that's articulable, then we can. Accordingly.
I would like to go back to these ones that we're discussing real quick. The Little Valley Skate Park, it's all mediums, and I suspect it's because they talked a lot about the economic impact and then didn't really have much documentation to back it up. Indeed, it's a bit out of date, and it's still getting used very heavily. So I don't mind. I have no problems with this. I think it's going to get used by the community. It's just the economic development documentation seemed to be a bit of a stretch.
So will the old one be?
It's,
Have they said
these are two separate facilities, so
Okay,
they're just
but they'll
adding.
still use the old one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, okay.
And I don't think that there's gonna be any issue about that in terms of
Plenty,
the,
plenty,
yeah.
plenty of use.
I feel like every time you throw one of these in, it just feels.
Yeah, we saw that yesterday.
Yeah, Tracy and Cameron, you both reviewed this one as well, that skate park.
Yeah, I agree with that. When I read this one, I want to talk about the Stellar Vista is actually, I think it fits into the very conversation you just had in a second about amphitheaters.
Yeah, that's
I agree on the economic development piece on skate park.
Yeah. All right, well,
Stellar Vista? Sure. I appreciate you making the point about the amphitheaters and just the overall investment, because I remember when we first started this grant program, having a pretty feisty meeting. Tom, this was way back when you were running the shop about whether or not Frisbee golf counted. And then we had a question over whether or not remote control car course or the RC car.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not gonna out Lincoln by saying that he supported those, but.
You just did.
I've got a rat collection.
And it's recreation. It's not active recreation.
So it's inclusive. The rest of, this is the point I'm making, Tom.
Yeah.
is We could put in statute everything we think is outdoor recreation, and inevitably we would miss 4 or 5 things.
Have to change it every year.
We'd have to change it every year. So the flexibility is good. The flexibility also brings the point that I was just making about the amphitheaters, that is that outdoor rec or not, and if you approve it for one, you approve it for others. So yesterday, we approved one of the small requests of the project that was related to night sky and stargazing. The reason that I was a no vote on the Stellar Vista, my exact comment, I double check things for premium, but right, but my exact comment was, I'm not sure this qualifies as outdoor rec. But we leaned into it yesterday that actually night sky stargazing could be outdoor rec. When you think about economic development potential, night sky has more economic development potential than most of the stuff we've talked about.
You're right.
So if you think about the different purposes of statute, and my comments reflect that, so this has great economic development potential. I don't know if it's outdoor rec. If we ultimately think that night sky is outdoor rec, then I would actually rescore and change my vote on the Stellar Vista, and I'd be open to other applications that come forward to us. So I put that out there as a policy call, because if we ultimately feel like night sky fits into the definition, I think there's economic development opportunity, then I would support, even though I was initially no vote, I would support moving Stellar Vista forward. I wanted to just outline that policy point for our consideration.
Yeah.
And it's a fully enclosed building.
Well, the night sky is obviously outside, but like it's the whole infrastructure of the building, the destination.
I see.
To the night sky.
To support the building outside.
Yep.
Where's this at?
And I scored this one as well, and shocker, I think we should. To Cameron's point though, a lot of the ones I scored medium or low was because I couldn't see the economic development benefit or tourism benefit. And this was one I was like, you actually do have a tourism benefit associated, so I gave it a decent score.
And that's where I viewed
all of this nice guy stuff is directly right in tourism for sure. And I do, and I always have, not just based on this conversation, but I always have thought of it as another activity. Not something that I engage in, but it is pretty popular. It's growing in popularity. It takes place outside. And this is different, obviously, with it being a structure indoors. And you're outdoors when the roof moves. Yeah. Can we go to the budget sheet on this?
And I can give a little context. I've worked with this applicant a good amount. So they are building like that big indoor kind of observatory facility, but this is a lot of the stuff outside, like the viewing deck. And, so it's
Is this in Canab or outside of Canab?
it's near Canab.
Near Canab.
Yeah.
So,
It's on
yeah.
Mike Noel's property.
Is it?
Really?
Oh, that's hilarious. Is he pro dark night guys now?
I'm not gonna say I got a few calls from Mike Noel, but
All right, so anyway, bathrooms, big pavilion, excavation.
So-
Just a model,
Is it up the
contingency,
canyon?
container, mobilization, yeah, okay.
So, wait, how does,
Did he donate them?
he donated.
thank you, okay, that we didn't hear that, I was like, oh.
I knew that's what you were going, so,
Thank you. Cameron, I
oh,
went-
it's out by the
this is-
reservoir.
I tend to use as
It's
my
on the
metric
reservoir. That's
is-
where my father walks.
Is
Yeah,
it an
that's a
activity
nice
that
area.
national or state park staff, national parks in Utah regularly do? Night sky. Yeah.
Well, this is out by the reservoir, correct? On that map.
It has a good connection to the Jackson Flat.
Yeah, because that's a big recreation site in, I mean, they have a walking path.
So I think we should just be prepared then, that come next year, we're gonna see a lot more nice guy applications.
I was taking all in. I was observing.
Daily ritual, at 81 years old. Try to walk that.
And I was questioning all yesterday,
It's just very well.
like, my issue was some of the details and some of the shovel readiness of the project, not so much.
Oh, Mike's involved in it. It will.
And in fairness, they're all pretty good. And I got to go down and inspect the bike path that goes all around the lake, and it's awesome.
It gets used a lot.
That adds points. in my opinion.
And I did call King County after I talked to Mike and just saw what the sentiment was from the King County Commission, and they were all. It's an awesome project and what they're wanting to pursue.
It just might be the only one in Maine, or one of two, because there's a Jackson Flat. So, yeah. Okay, that's awesome. The only one left that we can maybe just get real quick on is the Drew Bay Road. I've been on Drew Bay Road quite a bit out there in Tooele. It is one that I see a lot of kids on bikes on the road. There's really no shoulder to speak of in most spots there, but there's plenty of room. Right to trail. Anybody that scored it wants to offer any additional insight, I'd speak in favor of it.
It's a less than a mile. It connects something that we funded in the past that it's in Old English or something like a trail system, and then it goes out to the Canyon Road. But it does just kind of stop at Canyon Road, but maybe in the future there's a potential to extend it. It's just, it's an asphalt pathway on the side of the road. But there aren't many opportunities to get out and walk in that area or ride your bike alongside the road. Drew Bay is pretty busy, so. It's one of those that's maybe not super exciting, but I think it does have value for the community for sure.
And it does connect, that kind of north to south, really kind of east to Willa area.
So they're trying to make that old road up to the smelter, that's considered a trail. So that's how they're connecting this, but I hear once a week from people, what can we do about Drew Bay? Because they walk it, there's pedal bikers on it, it's a horrible, it's a dangerous road. It's a secondary road now, because SR 36 is so busy, so I wish they'd actually do a path all the way down to Lake Point, which I hope.
I scored it as well. They also include 2 different ADA access points, and I like the project.
Okay, so those 4 are, that's still the motion that's before us. Any other discussion on any of those 4 projects? If not, then we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of advancing those onto our list, those to finalize, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. One more.
Can I make a motion for the rest? Can we look at this as a motion to take the balance that do not have a negative score?
Okay.
Oh,
Any of those that don't have a negative, okay?
like that.
That's 6 additional. Okay. Yeah, we do have that.
Russ seconded it, didn't like it. That's
Yep.
second.
That was my second.
Troy, you don't know our code, but.
I second.
All right, so that motion is in order. Mike, thank you. Seconded by Russ. And any of those that need to be discussed, we can discuss, but we don't absolutely need to either. Starting with Ephraim City Skate Park. Okay, if there is not any discussion, then we can go ahead and vote on it.
On all of them or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll group it over it. Yeah.
It doesn't have any negative questions.
We can take some time to maybe look at the list for just a second.
That was a different one. Yeah, that was,
Cedar Valley, this one's down there again.
yeah.
Yeah, love to see the application from. Okay, so if not, then we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of adding that list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Passes unanimously.
I will just say with that, Ephraim, I went to ribbon cutting. We funded the first phase of that skate park, and it was incredible to see so many kids out there. They're really doing some awesome things in Ephraim. So they're just going to build up on that success for sure.
This was the from skate park, and I was a reviewer on that one too. I mean, what they've done, and then kind of what they're trying to do regionally.
Yeah,
is super cool what they're doing.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's gonna
all over Stampede are coming into that skate park. So.
It's okay.
All right. So with that, we do have our next presenters in the room for St. George City. You might as well do a transition into that. A couple minutes early, if you guys are ready. We're ready. You have to go. Okay. Bring your materials up and you can take it away. Where would you like to do that? Right up there in the front?
Yeah, come on up
Might be
here.
awkward talking to the back of Maureen and Caroline.
They're used to it.
So first of all, I just want to start out by thanking everyone. This organization has supported St. George very well over the years, and it's not lost on us. We know there's projects all over the state that are trying to get help with some of their projects, and from our Sand Hollow Bike Park, the Deal Fund, to 2 of our trails that we're have under construction as we speak. You guys have been great partners. So thank you for the support. But St. George, we try to do things, when we do a park, we try to do things really well. We have a tradition of excellence from our Thunder Junction All Abilities Playground to our Snake Hollow Bike Park to our robust trail system. It's just really important to us that, and it's such an ingrained part of our quality of life down there, that we do these things well. So when we first, we got a concept for this Curly Hollow, and we worked on it, and it came across our desk, and we sat down and looked at it the very first time, and this is not the concept you're seeing. And it looked like just a big neighborhood park, and we were really disappointed. So after all this time, about a year of design, we actually just had to take it back and scrap it. And so we really wanted to start out with what we were lacking in St. George. And we do a great job of providing amenities for kids from 12 and under. We have a lot of playgrounds, over 50. And we do a really good job of doing things for adults, such as pickleball, bike parks. But we feature that I want you to think like Zion Canyon. So if we can go to the next page, well, let's leave it right here for just a minute. We can talk about the different elements. So we want to have a good play area, but we don't want typical play equipment. What we want is stuff that you can climb on. We want like ropes course, low ropes course. We want slides that are built into the natural geography so that we can utilize the topography the very best we can. We want to have a bike park and skate ramps
so that we can meet the kids that really like to see like those features. And then right here, we want an obstacle course. Something you can run a really fun race, or you just go out with your kids and climb over stuff, something like that. And then we have this grass field. And then, of course, we have the obligatory pickleball and tennis because that's what the neighborhood really wanted. So those are our two traditional things. We will have a restroom as well. Can you go to the next slide? So this is kind of the topography. This shows you the view, and what it is we're going to be building up on top of the climbing wall. And so all of the features will be centered around that climbing wall. We'll have a beach area with poles. They'll kind of be reminiscent of like pine trees in Zion that you could do hammocks or slackline. There's going to be, we're thinking sand underneath the low rose course. We're thinking pink sand from like the pink sand dunes. So we want all of this to really tie into St. George. We think into our Washington County and our Southern Utah kind of environment. And then we also have a walking trail that will go around the entire outside. So basically, we want to use the topography we have, but we also want to build it up so that we can really get the most out of it. We want that relief, and we want this climbing wall to just be iconic for St. George. Here's the next one. So these are the kind of features that we're thinking. And this, in the bottom, right over here on the bottom right-hand side, as we have these walls that kind of build up with the driveways or the walkways, we want it to be reminiscent of the Zion strata. We really want to be able to tell that story.
Started. Go ahead and unmute us. We'll get back into session. And so just as a review though, we've gone through every category that we are responsible for scoring, and we've made lists. At this point, there are 3 different things we could possibly do. As far as going back and revisiting any of those lists or any of the specific projects. So we can get to that. But I think before we do that, there's probably one little slight change that we might want to make, and Patrick can give us a little background on some of the regional assets here as far as their budget and maybe just giving a little bit of safety net, just in case budget things aren't quite working out.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, just for context, all of our applicants, when they submit these, we kind of put them through a staff review. So what you're seeing ideally has been like thoroughly reviewed. With 2 of our regional assets here, the Bastion and the Nibley, their initial budgets that they submitted, I think the Nibley had like a $9 million project value that you saw, but after reviewing it, we asked them to remove a lot of things because a lot of things were just not eligible. And we wanted that to reflect it, but then kind of like double checking the newly submitted budget, it looks like they only had like $750,000 identified as spend, but the way they had listed it was just a little confusing. It looked like $1.5 million, but then you actually start doing the math. Anywho, so that one, their total project cost is a little bit up in the air. You know, they have a project of over $9 million. It's just a matter of how much is eligible, what things going through. And then the other one is the Bastion, kind of the same thing. They initially listed a total project cost of over $3 million. But then, you know, to Lincoln's like observation, we looked at that budget and we were only seeing what it was like 900,000 or so. So for both of these, if those second totals are actually what the total project costs are, they would be ineligible for that full $750,000. For urban communities, they're required to have like a 301 match, essentially $3 million total project cost. For rural, it's just a 1-to-1 on those regional asset tiers. So I would suggest, you know, maybe an alternative motion in which if they cannot meet that required project cost, you know, we can bump it down to that 200,000. On staff side, you know, we'll contact them, we'll let them know. I think out of a $9 million project, we could probably find $3 million of eligible costs in there. And then same with the Nibley, or I guess with both of them. They both seem to have like big projects. Just the secondary submission just didn't show that.
So the mechanics would just be a new budget sheet after they work with you? Or?
Yeah, we would just need to verify that, like, okay, these are eligible, you know, because that 9 million, for example, you know, maybe like 3 million of that has already been spent, which therefore makes it ineligible, even if they're eligible costs, you know. So we have a touch more eligibility for those 2 projects specifically to get them up to that $750,000 range. They're already eligible for the 200,000. So I might just suggest they, you know, we're willing to fund a 750 if they can prove full eligibility of total project costs with a secondary motion. Like if they can't, the 200,000.
Perfect.
Plan B for those guys.
Can I make a motion? Up to the full amount as eligible would be the motion for those 2 projects.
Okay, yeah. So motion by Lincoln to that effect. Seconded by Aaron. Any discussion? Questions? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Sounds like good.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Patrick, for pointing that out. It's a good little plan B to have in place. I think it should be okay, but I would want to have a little safety net.
And if anybody has any suggestions on how we best educate our applicants for budgets,
That's the biggest can we get permission from some of our grantees to hand out like successful and well done budgets?
yeah, I mean, I think absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we've done.
I mean,
We have some available.
Yeah.
People can look at.
But yeah, that is consistently. I mean, and there's a big learning curve. I think, you know, like Nancy was presented. She's like, your budget is the best, but she's a grant writer. You know? But then, you know, like Minersville, for example, they'll see her budget and they're like, what is going on? You know, we don't have this expertise here. So.
I have to deal with a girl at math at my house, so I deal with that. I've got 4 daughters. So.
The budget always works.
Yeah.
All right.
Did we vote? Did we vote?
We didn't vote.
Okay.
Didn't need to.
Yeah, it was unanimous.
We voted
Okay,
on it.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yes. Yeah.
I was gonna say unanimous, but I didn't want to say.
Pass unanimous. So, floor's open. if there's any project on any one of the extent you feel like
Do you mind pulling up the screen?
needs to be brought up, Tracy?
I would just love to hear, feedback on tier one. It's towards the bottom. It had a high, medium and low loading with the Bear River ADA accessible yurts. That's my job, right? Is to bring up accessibility components. I did review this, as well, but, just gonna find out the low reason. And from my perspective, there's still a lot of details that need to be completed, but it's a yurt system up by Lily Lake that is utilized pretty heavily. I don't know what year, but they updated quite a few of their vault toilets to be ADA vault toilets, yet the yurt system is not accessible. So there's nothing that I don't appreciate within accessible bathrooms, yet recreation isn't accessible. Accessible by snowmobile, hiking in vehicles in the summer. So there is access to actually get to these things, but not access to get into the yurt system, which is a part of this. So
You're entering the structure itself.
correct. I've spoken with them once. It sounds like it's a pretty small nonprofit. Again, still, I wrote on there more details of the layouts and that sort of thing is needed, but just love to hear info on that.
So I reviewed that one and I quite liked it. And I liked the economic development opportunity because if we're going to be spending, it's literally heads and beds. And granted at a yurt, not at a hotel, but we're going to need supplies and we've funded some yurt type projects in the past. I like the accessibility piece. So yeah, I like this one. So
This is a helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, it says it's booked, currently there are 6 yurts booked full December to April, with summer usage on the rise. So.
We see budget. And Scott, I think you also scored this one if you have anything to say. So vault toilets are part of this.
I think they're adjusting to other of their toilets, if I remember correctly.
This was another interesting one, just because it has like a gas fireplace within the yurt as a matching fund. Do we want to help fund stove tops, like things that are actually going to be inside the yurts?
Gas fireplace makes it usable in the winter time for recreation and whatnot. Is it heating or is it ambiance?
It's heating.
Jason, can you give me the grant number on that one?
3184, right?
3184. PRORA, that's Fair River Outdoor Recreational Alliance Accessibility Yurts. So they're not asking for the gas fireplace, are they?
Yep. Oh no.
There's so a yurt, 43,000. Vault toilet, 6,000.
So this one I think I was pretty critical of based off of the information they provided. So they're generating revenue and quite a bit of revenue from these yurts. So I had a lot of questions about whether or not they actually needed the help.
Oh, okay. Fair River Outdoor Recreational Alliance is not something I dealt with closely, but
It's something, I don't know them well. They called me one time. They listed it once. I wanted a little more details on with a yurt layout because we own a couple of yurts that we run as well. So learned a lot of things from that. So I don't know much detail on that. All I know is that they're all volunteer-based nonprofits. The details I was asking for, she was like, we're not quite there yet. So my perspective is just, we have bathrooms and that doesn't make something accessible from a recreational standpoint. So.
Yeah. I don't know, but to me, a yurt always feels like outside, but yeah.
Just as a side note, there's a comment that says the yurts are fully booked from December to April. Let me see how much they are a night. Just a second.
I think it's like 150. I feel like it's what I read somewhere.
I'm on their website right now.
Also says that the rate is considerably lower and similarly said.
So it's $100 a night.
They've donated yurt nights to various nonprofit organizations in the area. So I guess that's mitigating factor in the concern about revenue. Well, it is a nonprofit, so they are offering to other nonprofits. So, yeah, I don't know. This sounds awesome to me.
Can I just also say, just like as a side, when we looked at the budget, we did see stuff like, like the stoves and furnishings, like, those are items too, like if you have a thoughts on should those be eligible, because if they are eligible, they can appear on the budget as matching funds. But if they're ineligible, we can't even concede them as matching funds. So I don't know what thoughts we have. I mean, my personal preference, if they're like permanent installations, like bunk beds, those seem like you can't really just have a year without that.
150. Some of them go up to 150 a night. So there's several that are 100 and there's some that are 150.
Yeah, there's no motion. This has kind of been brought up. Tracy wanted to discuss it, so.
I feel like it's my job. Yeah.
Here, I'll move that we bring this up for consideration.
Okay, so, for adding onto our list. Okay, so motion by Aaron to add the Bear River Outdoor Recreation Alliance and the accessible yurts restrooms onto our list for advancement. For a second. Second by Des. Any further discussion? Questions?
I would just say I wouldn't include this, Jason.
Yeah, okay. Scott's gonna vote no. So for that reason, we will just go ahead and start with the roll call vote. So Scott, yay or nay?
No.
Okay.
To focus on our strategic recruitment needs and vice chair research and pediatrics. So I think I don't have any disagreements. I think they did a nice job of moving and really summarize that. The questions that they've asked us, again, I don't know.
So talking about.
I think he's.
Qualifying question before we vote.
Well, okay.
We're discussing.
Good discussion. Sorry. So it says that the nonprofit space that I have is Wyoming. Utah Rec Fund paid for one organization inside of Utah. They have to have the licenses.
Yeah.
They just, the physical site and the population served, generally just needs to be Utah. And most importantly, the physical site.
Right up by the other
has to
side.
be Utah.
Was this, Camp Steiner?
But we have some other organizations like Access Fund and all the work that they're doing to lead the agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Specifically based out of Boulder.
They have an office, they have a business in Utah. I guess I always thought that we only awarded funds to Utah-based entities. I might be wrong, but Access Fund does have.
And I can get final confirmation. It's my understanding, like the project site itself, this needs to be in Utah. But I know like our off-highway vehicle recreation grant, that the 501c3s have to be established in Utah. So.
And they have at least one free event.
Valid question.
Open to the public.
They have infrastructure that they have here.
And they did.
We did fund.
A nonprofit was
Yeah. I mean, we have
Forest Service
funded
land.
this organization before, in 2020.
Say that again, Patrick.
We funded the ADA components of some of these years in 2020.
So we have funded them in the past. I don't know, that's a good question. Any other discussion before we actually go to vote? Scott, vote again. I think it's a good question to encourage as much dialogue as we can, especially if we get down to the weeds and some of these. And as I look through our whole list, there are very few of them that are very targeted on the ADA side of things, and this is one of them. So that's why Chris probably brought it up. Other than the fact that it's.
Yeah, I'm not married to it. I just feel like I would have done my job if I didn't ask that question.
So I know that, so there are ways of making skiing accessible, and it sounds like these yurts are often used by people who are skiing.
What I read, Nordic, they also use the snowmobile up to them, which
Right.
obviously makes things very
Yeah, even more
accessible to get
accessible.
you
Okay, just
to
curious.
the trails up there. But, again, don't know much more about it than that.
Okay, so then, I guess in answer to that question, Tom, I think we precedent wise have funded them in the past. They do have a presence here. I think that's a good question to factor into your vote. So with that, we'll start over. Okay.
I believe that was a no, Jason. Thanks, though.
All right. Dr. Rosenbluth?
Nay.
Okay. Commissioner Pearson?
Yay.
Okay. Jake?
Yay.
Okay. Tom?
Yay.
Yay. Is it yay?
Yay.
Cameron?
No.
No. I'm gonna vote yay. Aaron?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to find them in Utah. Yay, but contingent on them. I mean, they wouldn't be eligible, right?
We've already
They
given
weren't?
them money, so
Okay.
obviously they've done.
Okay. Okay. Yay.
Okay.
Yay.
Yes?
No.
And Tracy?
Yay.
Lincoln is a yes. All right, 9-5. That one will move on to the list. Fairground recreation rights, work and restaurant ADA. Do we have a snapshot again of everything?
Really good at these stuff. They do things that serve the community and not just for profit.
I think overall we've been pretty conservative.
Yeah.
We're almost at 15 million. And so what that does is we've talked about two kind of things. Number one, having plenty of funding for our U4 grant. I think there's now an ability for us to add to that, and it's appropriate based on the demand we had last year. Number two, reserving some for hopefully some of these other just shining stars that come out next year. Having a little bit of cushion. It is likely we'll still, have a couple of these drop off. So there's also that to factor in.
Before we do that,
Is there a way to show us the ones that have not been funded? Could be.
Yeah.
And did we ever cover Dimple Bell? Did we cover
Yes.
that?
Didn't we?
We did.
We talked about it, yeah.
Didn't we? We talked about it. It did not end up making.
We haven't made a motion to advance it.
Okay.
Essentially this, that shows we didn't.
No, they're the one, Dimplebell is the one that has all the funding for their project, but asked for $20,000 in contingency fee, which, I mean, I'm willing to entertain somebody else's motion, but I don't feel comfortable making it.
So I guess for the snapshot of what we haven't funded, is gonna be anything without anything in this unawarded. Highlight for me.
I would just like to make a motion, if I can. I'm just looking at these two right under the line that we, oh wait, we might have funded, did we fund the scoring was 35.33. So did we, is Ogden Nature Center?
Yes.
In or out?
It is in.
It's
in. On the list. The one above it, though, Ruben is not.
Yeah, so I would like to, I just want to hear, because I did not look at that one. I just want to hear, it's got 2 yay votes and only 1 no vote. So I would like to hear some discussion on that.
Okay, so you want to make that in the form of a motion?
Formal motions.
As to,
Just
a motion to add it on?
Yes, to add it.
So those that will advance to final approval. For a second to that? Great. Seconded by Aaron. And so discussion to that. Let's see who, Ruben, that's Tom, Yes, and Lincoln.
I consider the trails I like to go to and recreation, right? But the reason I get sort of low from what I reviewed the no plans. There's nothing that really showed. I could be wrong. If somebody else reviewed it, saw something that I overlooked.
So I scored it pretty high. I did like that it was, they mentioned ADA accessible seemed like they had pretty decent local outreach to some of the youth groups. The only thing that if there was a negative or a project weakness is it looked like it was a multi-phase project and I couldn't really see how they were breaking up the phases on the project that well. But all in all, I like kind of directionally what they were doing with the project.
Well, sort of low.
Pretty vague.
The weaknesses that I noticed did not look like they had state and federal permitting and water rights were the question.
Oh, really?
Wow.
It didn't really, have, anyway, that's
pretty weak on
that's my notes. Yeah, and then it did look like it was, hey, this is like an initial phase of city park that's gonna go in, but they didn't really show what the rest of what was gonna happen with city park.
Yeah, it's kind of like show fish on there for.
Hey, at least they added fish.
Yeah, right.
I mean, my notes said I could be talking to a medium priority, but wanted to see how it competes with the other applicant, kind of whether or not we had money. Was I think why I ended up going.
Is there a way in which we can ask staff to get more detail, especially on the permitting and the water rights piece? Because that would be important to me as the organization. Can we do like a contingent approval?
Is it city owned?
I don't know. I actually think I kind of stay away from that. I think is what it causes is it's not that we're not creating any incentive for high quality applications. And then I like that.
But next year, when you have a question like that, even when you ask them at the last minute, sometimes they can still get you information.
Yeah.
I reached out to one and I reached out to two and I got an answer from one now.
And I use those staff.
Oh, you had them do it. That's what I need to do next year.
And I could do a better job of that too. Just reaching out maybe and getting some of those questions in my mind beforehand.
I just sent emails, so.
What's that?
Is this accurate? They did over them CF funding?
I'm expecting that's this year. They're asking for, we could pull that up.
If they have it, a few more applicants.
Yeah.
Maybe we get to meet them if they don't have it.
Yeah.
Based on the strength of the application, I'm fine leaving it off, to be honest, just because I do think you've collected a fair amount of detail. Maybe some encouragement to come back next year with.
I mean, the one image that we do have is a pretty,
Yeah, they asked for 500,000
this year, so they don't have that yet.
That's reviewed on May 1st.
plan was that we at least
Yeah.
got, which isn't.
Okay, so there's time for next year.
See, Lance, I can't say no.
Yeah, you can say no once in a while. That would be like.
Because LWCF has a 3-year contract, so even if they get, they can come back next year and still be in sync.
That's probably a good first step then, see where they land with all of this. Okay. We'll do the federal grant scoring committee. Okay, so we still have a motion. So
Can you remind me of the motion, sir?
the motion is that we add Reuben fishing onto the list of those that will be.
Substitute motion, move on to the next item.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that substitute motion. Or do we have to vote?
Vote on it.
Okay.
All those in favor of moving the Reuben fishing pond onto the list of those that will advance, say aye. And
Aye.
any-
Way to go, T-Bird.
All right.
How to do it.
Anybody opposed? Say no.
No.
Okay, no, it's no. No's have it. All right. Good say, Russ.
So
I can go back to Grantsville if they ask me and say I'm trying.
There you go. Tracy, have we funded anything from Camp Gustavus? I feel like you got all of those and we have one on this list that's still.
No.
We have in the past.
Yeah, I know we have in the past.
But this year, they have four.
They have 4, and I know that you liked some more than others.
The Ogden
Yeah.
Music Education Center was funded.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And so was their nature education class.
Okay. Then,
Yeah, the amphitheater in this, and you can pull up the photo, is not accessible for the photo that they showed, so.
thank you.
But it's a very poor concept, like
All-
all of my criticisms, and I can't really see what's happening.
Yeah, the details were lacking.
Thank you. Just knowing that you had looked at all of them.
Which is not to say that they couldn't,
Oh.
well, it was, every time someone talks about an amphitheater, they put that one.
Well,
when you're pushing that you're building an ADA amphitheater.
Yeah, you don't need that
find
picture.
a photo that is.
It's pretty, but.
That's pretty tough. Okay. So there are 8 projects on tier 1 that have not been moved on.
And
So
there's one I would like to discuss, but I cannot put a motion. I wonder if we can talk about the winter flat Yankee Meadows.
So moved.
all right, so the motion
Well, no, I
is,
didn't make a motion.
I did, sorry, I'm making the move for you.
okay, so the motion from Aaron to move forward and add you into flat Yankee Meadows fire rings and signage. Or at least have the conversation. Let's just have the conversation. Is that your motion?
Yep.
Okay, and then seconded by Mike. Okay, okay. All in favor of having that conversation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that's I scored this. Nancy.
I still don't. Do you mind if I talk about it?
Go ahead, yeah.
Try to capitalize with fire rings, which helps prevent wildfires, and signage to help point people where to go. I think it seems pretty reasonable. It's a relatively lower cost, 38,000. One thing we might want to talk about, I think there should be an RRI, and maybe there's a conversation to have about disbursement, where there's not necessarily any infrastructure, but they can put it in. Is that an RRI, or do they need to?
So, I mean, the conversation that I have, because we get this a lot with applicants, with kind of these like liminal ones. So, I mean, I'll look at it in like 2 different ways. Like one, if it's like part new, part restoration, it's just like, okay, like let's see the ledger. If most of it's going to new infrastructure, like non-existing, and the other, less is going to restoration, let's call it. But then again, like if people are trying to formalize like social trails and do a network, to me, like a social trail is an infrastructure, and so like if no legitimate infrastructure exists, even if use exists, but infrastructure does not. I mean, I still consider it a U-Org, but again, it's always up for discussion,
And just to make the point, yesterday we funded Behind the Buttes, which is by Gotham Valley, very similar in terms of formalizing dispersed campsite. That's not our, this is I think they're both great. I think it should be-
Yeah.
I'm just like-
And I think on both of those, like they realistically might be able to do one or the other. But on our staffing end, if there's certain things you would like to see with that, if you're like, hey, look, if there's like any restoration elements, we want that in our eye. We can absolutely push that. Because I feel like most of these applicants talk to us because they're a little confused.
But I think I agree with you that if we've got heavy use that has created an impact, but it isn't being maintained and it's not official, that to protect the surrounding areas, making it official, I mean, that feels new.
Yeah, and that's my reason.
I agree with you on that one.
And it is one that is, I mean, this is getting a lot of.
Yeah, it is. I know.
Big down pretty good, so.
And there is one person who out of it level. I was just assuming.
Yeah. And I scored low, just in part because there are campgrounds all over the state that could have this type of use, and I just wasn't sure that it fit into this diagram and Preston. And it was less about the project itself and more just a bigger policy question.
Yeah, that was
Which is
why I
why
was
you see
reading on
it.
it.
I think I would like to amend my motion to include it.
Okay. So let's just call that a new motion.
Okay.
Because we already voted on your.
Oh, right, sorry, I forgot.
So the motion is that we move the Yankee Meadows and Green Flat project onto the list of the will advance. And is there a second? Second from Tom. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do a voice vote on that. Okay, so again, voting on the Yankee Meadows in the flats. Scott.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Pearson.
She had to jump.
She had to run. Okay, she's no longer with us here today. Then Dr. Rosenbluth.
Aye.
Okay. We'll start with this. Lincoln.
Aye.
Tracy. Kevin. Oh, sorry. Des.
Aye.
Russ.
Aye.
Aye. Lance. Yep. Okay. And Warren. Nope. We'll advance that one. Yankee Meadows, Black, fire engine signage up to the list of that's. Okay.
All right, just because I'm looking at this and we've looked at everything with the same score and we've looked at Yankee Meadows, I would think I would like to make a motion that we move Las Colinas Park.
All right, so the motion is we'll move Las Colinas Park onto the list of those that will advance. We have not discussed this one at all.
We haven't discussed it, so I just want to,
Because we did it, I know that we did.
Yeah.
but that had a no vote, so we didn't move it up.
Okay, is there a second to that one?
A second.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Who seconded it?
So Aaron did.
You can pick.
That's what I did now.
Well, I scored this one,
Sorry, Lance.
and this is, so it's in the south part of St. George, right by the Virgin River. It's a park, it is a park, so, and the portion that they're asking for is a pedestrian bridge over a wash and then some concrete pad. And there's a picture there, south kind of after this, and then
That's a retirement community.
that's a big regional class, what did
Yeah,
you say?
yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
not
there,
well off.
it's not shown here, but over to the, further to the east, the Aspiration Trailhead, which lacks parking.
Yeah.
This one was a little bit hard because this is a park, we're funding sidewalks and pedestrian bridges, the bridges there that goes over that wash there by Sugar Leo Road. They've got turf, they've got pavilions, playground, parking, restaurants, so.
2 bridges.
For it. I've taken students there for a lot of service projects as part of that.
2.
And it is, I mean, that road, I don't like parking on that road, especially with students. So the parking lot for me seems cool. I mean, I like the idea of a parking lot that would make that trailhead accessible and safer. But the rest of it.
So it looks like it is 2.
It is 2 bridges. This is like a 10-to-1 match. So it is high value in terms of the match.
And I don't have a homie in the fight.
Yeah.
Dog in the fight, whatever. We're looking at the ones that above it and below it.
Yep, I think that's a valid.
Homie's fight.
I know.
Okay, thank you.
Showing off for a girl trying to jump on this pony.
Anyway, pony fight. Sorry.
And you're learning a lot more about us than you really ever wanted to know.
Like, I think it's worth.
Yeah, I think it's a valid question. So, if there's any other thoughts on it.
I think there was 4 applications from the city of St. George.
Okay.
I think you funded all of them at this point.
All of them.
Oh,
We've already moved 3 of the 4 onto our list.
this is Janice, the local. Go Trailblazers. Hey, it's great having from the bull now. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, well, if there's no further questions, we can just go ahead and vote. So all those in favor of moving the Las Colinas Park on to the final approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And are there any opposed? Okay, so that passes unanimously, and we'll add that one on. A couple of bridges and some concrete pad. Necessary.
I'd like to go back to Patrick's big spreadsheet there to see what we have covered. If there's any anomalies above the line. I see those.
Yesterday we skipped the vernal diaphragm.
Yeah.
I think it was in that chunk that we just forwarded.
We just-
The bigger product.
Yeah.
We got through.
We've approved it. Yeah. So they have nothing really up, like I guess.
There's no white lines there on this chart. What are those white lines that aren't approved? Just curious.
We have,
In the green, you know, those.
Where it's not green?
Yeah, there you go.
so, yeah, it'd be these.
Oh, the
It's not-
ribbon fishing.
It's not funded.
Okay. What was the other one above that, Patrick? Just curious.
The Reuben Fishing Pond.
There's another one.
Dimple Dell.
So
Oh, the Dimple Bell.
Dimple Dell, okay.
Dimple Dell, Reuben,
Okay.
and then Tampa Bay, Providence City, American Ford, and Salem City. Bottom point.
Patrick, can I ask you a question on the Woodland Hills Trail? It says phase 4. Did we fund any of the other phases?
They have absolutely gotten RTP funds. I don't believe they've ever received UWork funds.
Woodland Hills.
Okay.
I scored that one low. I might be worth talking about, but I scored it low because just going to neighborhood trail, but if it's part of a greater phase, I probably wouldn't want it. So.
I think they got RTP from us last year.
Lowest one.
Yeah.
No. I was less soft this time.
You were less soft.
Less soft.
Yeah.
Well, we funded all but 6 on the tier 1 list. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
What's the running total? Just curious.
50,137,100.
Is there anything in those other sections that we didn't find that we can tell RRI? Just curious.
So we did, okay, so sunlight I'd mentioned, maybe this is time to Caroline did a little bit more research. Maybe you want to add a little bit of extra info to the sunlight
Yeah.
folks.
Yep, I texted the owner and called him last night. So just about board of directors, he had said that he does have 6 members on the board of directors for 2024. Cost for participants is only going to be $10 a person. We plan to have some programming happening, but also groups will come up this year. Know that they're coming to help serve and clean up the camp. He did differentiate yesterday. He has had a for-profit business under the same name, but the foundation is his new nonprofit wing that he's leaning towards doing more with. So I think that confusion of are they taking corporate retreats up to this facility? No, is what my answer was from him.
So it's not being used anymore for the for-profit side, that is going away?
Correct. Again, that wasn't displayed very well in the application. To have to do that research after definitely makes it confusing, but he is a certified.
Yeah. Have they done anything today? Do they have any partnerships with people who want to work with them and use them? I feel like those are things that we've gotten from other nonprofits to justify supporting funding them.
It's like a brand new thing that he's purchased and wants to renovate to get groups up there, but.
Did they buy it in 2019?
On the list of those.
You should.
Just like that.
Yeah.
That was his motion.
All right, so, is there a second? Is there a second for that? I'll second. Okay, second by Mike. Okay, any further discussion on it? That's good context. They are, sounds like they're transitioning away from a for-profit model, more of a nonprofit community assistance.
Can I just bring up the point of whether the project was ready? They really hadn't done any design or engineering or understand the depth of the despair of the camp and the structure. Did they have anything to say about that?
Probably didn't ask him about.
Yeah.
No, I mean, from my conversations with him, he is brand new to this idea. It's an up and coming thing. So I think you have a good point, Jeff. There is probably some work that needs to be done in the planning phase of it. He wanted to get funding, but might not know what to do afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I just wish there was some, again, I don't think that they're gonna struggle to get people up there, but commitments from groups that, kind of support the fact that this is going to be nonprofit in a way that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't
know. I love helping these types of organizations get legs and get a little bit of momentum. It's still a little green to me.
He has like one letter of support from Boy Scouts of America.
Surprise.
And remember, they had lofty goals in there with $100,000 project cost. I don't think that the budget reflects for something to put a million.
I don't know. Maybe let this one cook a little more. This is my thought. Any other questions or discussion?
I guess I differentiate between this and the what is it, the yurts.
The yurts.
Yeah, like I could go on their website and at least see how they were doing free events for the community and things like that, and that they've had sort of an ongoing donation, volunteer kind of thing going on. It's just hard with this one. So, yeah. I hope they come back and I hope they have more meetups and I hope they build those programs.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area. It needs to be refurbished. And they can do it in that lake there. There's fishing, all kinds of stuff. They can do it.
Yeah, I'd love to see them do it.
I'm gonna withdraw my second.
What?
I think it needs to cook. I really do. I think it needs to cook.
Well, we can still vote.
We will still vote, provided there is a.
Well, there wasn't even a second.
Willing to.
I
I
think
know,
it
and
needs.
I've been jumping in there, but you notice.
I'll second it.
Oh, is this because my kids are keywords?
That's right. But given that there's already been discussion, I move that we have a vote.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then let's go ahead and vote. I think, let's go straight to a roll call vote on this one. And we'll start with Lance.
They.
That is, that is so counterproductive.
I agree, it needs to cook.
I'm with Lance saying,
Okay, Mike.
hey,
Nay. All right, Tracy.
Nay.
Evan.
He doesn't.
Sorry.
We know what you're gonna say.
Oh, I'm gonna vote with you.
Oh, all right.
There you go. It wasn't going to,
I
but
know
you
what
needed
you're
a little bit of more.
You know where I'm voting. Yes.
Yes. Tracy.
Aaron,
I'm sorry. It's getting so late in the day.
yeah, we're a little.
I'm gonna
You
go ahead and
vote.
This is like
vote, nay on this.
pulled out because they.
Scott?
But it helps them with election.
I'm gonna vote with Russ on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vote with
Yeah.
us. Thanks, Scott.
And then, Dr.
I'm
Rosenbluth.
just-
It's safe to vote.
I'm a nay. Nay.
Such a political guy.
The nays, take that one, it will not advance, it will continue to cook.
It is 1
The
o'clock.
conversation was excellent.
Sorry?
Oh, it's 1 o'clock, so we just have to make sure there's no public comment.
If you can't laugh at it, what are you gonna do?
Let's move into, public comment. Is there anybody online from the public that would like to comment? I don't see any unfamiliar names.
Ivan?
Yvonne Jumbo, he is from the Legislative Fiscal Analyst Office. Just observing. Wants to see how we do.
Okay.
Okay. I think you can make a motion.
I did. I'd like to make a motion to approve the list for funding.
Okay, so
That's
then,
currently constituted.
okay, so the motion is from Mike that the list that we have assembled, do you have a total number again? Make sure we have this as part of the motion.
15,008, 15 million.
Sure, this will be all grants, many projects for 15 million, for total project cost 65. It looks like every RTP application that came forward was also approved for a total of 910,000 for RTP. We'll do those official supporting meetings on May 1st. Regional asset tier, 7.6 million for 42,011 projects. Those are all 750 except for the one. And there's those two contingencies about reviewing the budgets. Tier 1, 5.5 million for 17 million total project cost, 43. And our rural numbers look really good. So well done, everybody. RRI 1.7, 22. Mini grant 137, outdoor classroom.
All right, then we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of making this list the final approved list of those that the committee is recommending for funding. All those in favor say
I
aye.
just did, well, sorry. I fumbled at the goal line.
He's gonna say nay.
No, I just wanted to see what we haven't funded. It's just a quick list. I guess.
We just did that.
Yeah, we did, but what are we funding? Just a quick list.
You're out of order.
Yeah. At least one thing brought up.
Hey, Tom, you making a substitute motion to add Woodland Hills?
So that would be in order. That would be in order.
Oh, that's.
So the
I'll
motion
second
is,
Tom's motion. I was
That's.
one of the reviewers. It's not the sexiest, I mean, but it's a good connector and it does have, it did have widening the path in order to be able to pinch points where the road congests down and be able to have it wide enough for ADA and.
and if we wanted our TT to this.
Well, we did 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's a
100,000
no-brainer.
and I just.
okay, all right, so to be clear, your substituting a motion that we do approve the list as currently shown, but also including the Woodland Hills Trail to Dragons Connection Phase 4. Acceptable to the original maker?
Yeah, I'll second that substitute motion.
Okay. Mike's good with that substitute motion. We second it. Okay. Any further discussion on that?
At the ball or the goal line.
Don't be Kalen Clay on the goal line.
I just want to say, we have a board of 99. I mean, one more.
Don't go there.
You can directly ask.
I'm just thinking about the press release.
Oh, right.
Almost done. Okay.
That means we have a goal for next year.
That's right. All right, if there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote. All of those in favor of making this list of currently represented projects, 99 of them at 15.287 million are the final approved project list, say aye.
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 And are there any opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll consult our agenda. We still nobody on public comment wise, right? Okay.
I can obviously adjourn whenever you'd like to, so.
I would invite any further motions.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn by everyone. We are
seconded by everyone.
Anybody opposed to adjourning? Then we're adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been awesome.
That was the easiest one I've ever done.
Well, you guys.
It was at least half as easy.
I know, you keep warning us.